Hey, once again here from SHOT Show 2025, I'm Jeremy with Howling Dog Media. I am here with Karen from Third Babe. They create the pistol called Ounce, and we're a manufacturer in my home state of Washington. You're now in Oklahoma. Tell us why you chose Oklahoma and moving out of Washington State.
Well, we had to move out of Washington State because of the new laws that have taken place. We were manufacturing out of our home, our garage, and with the new law that's going to affect in July of this year, we were going to have to put bars on all of our doors and windows, and we were going to have to start recording at all of our doors. It was very invasive, very expensive, and our HOA, frankly, wasn't going to let us do it.
Right.
So we got chased out of Washington State. It's too expensive to buy a manufacturing facility. So that's why we ended up in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, it's much freer and easier to do. You just have to follow federal law in essence, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and on top of that, you had to do audio and video recording with the new law. So
correct.
And you'd be doing that in your home and having to save it for, I think, 3 years or something? I can't remember the exact amount of time frame you had to keep it.
That changed over time. It started out at 6 years, I think it was, and it's maybe down to a few months or weeks, but regardless, it's an invasion into your home.
Right. And on top of that, the equipment to try to record that, you're looking at, I did one back when I used to install cameras, 20 years ago. It was like a $10,000 system that a home-based business would have to purchase in order to even keep manufacturing,
right?
Even running a store out of their home front.
Right. It's an utterly absurd requirement, particularly of a manufacturer or someone who's exporting and not selling anything directly from their facility, right?
Right.
This law really was intended for retailers that were selling out of a retail store. But the way the law is written, it applied to all FFLs. And the result is that they're causing people to have to comply who can't.
Right. And I mean, even while we've been here at SHOT Show, the Washington State Congress just is trying to push a new law where even a private citizen like myself was going to have liability insurance on every firearm that I own. And then the gun stores, the manufacturers would have their own liability insurance, including gun ranges. And it's like we were talking about earlier, it's a backdoor way of creating gun control to just push everybody out.
It absolutely is. And I was reading through this proposed law, this bill, and you are required to have insurance on a gun in order to buy it. So in other words, you have to get an insurance policy on a gun you do not own in order to buy the gun. I don't even know how that's going to work. How does an insurance company give you insurance on an item you do not yet own?
Right. I mean, you don't see that with car insurance or homeowner insurance. Oh, I'm thinking about buying a Tesla a year out. Well, we need to know the serial number already. Well, I don't even have the vehicle in my hands yet.
Right. I mean, how does this even work?
Right.
The bill is not going to work as written. If it passes, it is going to cause so much chaos in the market there in Washington. And to get it fixed is going to take a very long time. Litigation, as we were discussing also earlier, is very expensive, both in time and finances. The average person cannot afford to litigate these things away. And unfortunately, the Washington legislature knows this.
Right.
And they do this intentionally. They know they're passing unconstitutional bills. They don't care. In fact, that's what they want.
Right.
Because they want to be able to control the people of Washington. And the Washington people need to wake up and realize that that's what's going on.
Right. And it's not even, it's multifaceted. It's not even in the 2A world either. It's in other sections of life that they've trampled on. First Amendment rights, like you and I have talked about. Second, who knows how many other rights. And until either federal government or somebody steps in and starts hammering people, our representatives on what they're doing, then it's not going to get fixed.
Right. Yeah, I'm a First Amendment litigator with Silent Majority Foundation. Right now, I have 3 cases, and between those against the state of Washington. Between those 3 cases, I am litigating all 5 of the enumerated rights of the First Amendment that Washington has violated. Washington is behaving as though the First Amendment doesn't exist and that they can tell everybody what they can say, how they can practice their religion, what the freedom of the press means, who you can assemble with and when, and whether or not you can petition your government. All 5 rights they have violated.
Right. And growing up through the 80s and the 90s and into the 2000s, not into the 2020s, Washington has changed so much that it's forcing people to leave. It's forcing manufacturers to leave. Right. It's forcing big companies to look at other places. And even people can't survive. The price of living now, and especially Western Washington, has grown so much that it's suffocating people.
It really is, yeah. And without our First and Second Amendment rights, our government goes wild.
Right.
Those are intended to put the government in check so that the people are sovereign, not the government. Our founders were brilliant. They created a limited government, and they created a way that we, the people, could keep them in check. The people of Washington need to wake up and realize they have the power to keep their government in check, and it needs to happen.
And that's one thing I've noticed talking to people. They don't realize that the Constitution was written to govern the government.
Exactly.
And it's not rules that we're supposed to be, we're supposed to live by them, but it's mainly rules that the government's supposed to follow. And when people just allow the government to trample on those rights, they just start disappearing.
Exactly. Yeah. The Constitution only works if we apply it.
Right.
Otherwise, it is just words on paper.
And it's not a political left, political right, political center if all of us are looking at the Constitution and reading it for what it is and understanding what it's supposed to be for. We have more power that way.
Yes, and if we are a government of law, the supreme law of the land is the United States Constitution first, and then the Washington State Constitution over Washington. And let's be clear, Washington State has a wonderful Constitution. It is a great Constitution. When it comes to Second Amendment, it is very, very protective. When it comes to First Amendment, it is very, very protective. That Article 1 of the Washington State Constitution is a very well-written document that helps protect the people's rights. Now, the people of Washington have to realize that and start keeping the government in check according to that Constitution.
Right. And I've seen elections in Washington State, as we've talked about before, where only 9 counties won an election for people out of 39 counties. And so the representation that we have really isn't for the entire state.
And it has not been for decades.
Right. So, yeah, I'm we've talked for a couple of years now. I've known Bill for like 3 or 4 years now. If they want to check out your product, your epistle that you've been building, where can they find that at?
Yeah, so Bill has invented what's called the ounce pistol. It's intended for concealed carry, deep concealed. It folds up, but it's a semi-automatic pistol. It's about the size of a cell phone. It can fit in your pocket and be carried very safely. And you can find more information on ounceoz.com.
That's awesome. And like I've looked at the ounce pistol before, and we joked with Bill about it. When it's folded down, it looks like almost like a vape device. So we could have it laying here on the table, and if you didn't know what it was, you would just think it's some sort of vape pen or vape device. And once it's folded down, it's safe. It disengages the firing pin, so it can't go off in your pocket or any of that. So, but Karen, thank you again for coming up and talking to us, and it's always great seeing you here at SHOT Show.
Well, yeah, thank you for having us, and thank you for stopping by. This has been a real privilege to be able to discuss.
Yes, it's always fun and interesting to talk, especially seeing you here, knowing you're a litigator in Washington State, and some of the cases you've taught, kind of brought up are great information to have.
Yeah, well, and follow Silent Majority Foundation too, because they are litigating Second Amendment issues as well. And
yes,
in fact, today, this isn't Second Amendment, it's another right. It's the Parents' Bill of Rights that got passed a couple of years ago. Silent Majority just won, with the help of the state, fortunately, this time, unusually, but Silent Majority just won summary judgment today.
Awesome.
So follow Silent Majority Foundation too at silentmajorityfoundation.org.
Okay, so once again, this is Jeremy with Howling Media and Karen. Thank you again, and please check out those 2 websites and for any information that you need.
Thank you.